Alright, good morning YouTube comic community. This is Batcave Comics, back for another quick video. Well, I'll try to make it quick. You know, some of these get drug out and I apologize. But today I'm going to talk about the three different grading companies. Of course, you have CGC, the top dogs. You have PGX, which they consider the bottom of the barrel. And you have the new kids on the block, CBCS. And I've heard different people's opinions. So I figured, you know, I would throw in my opinion. And to be honest with you, what it boils down to is my ultimate opinion, you know. I mean, between the three, who cares? I mean, honestly. I mean, if you get a 9.8, it's a 9.8. I mean, that's what you bought, right? So, I mean, I kind of like a little variety too in how they display. But that's just me. I know some guys want all CGC. I think most people do. You know, some people like PGX. And still, a lot of opinions are up in the air about CBCS. So anyway, let's get started. I think CGC, of course, is definitely more consistent than the other two as far as their grading is concerned. Because you could crack a CGC book open, resubmit it, and most of the time it's definitely going to come back the same grade. I mean, it happens all the time. And that's probably the best thing about CGC. Now, since they were pretty much the pioneers on grading comics, I feel the other two companies had a slight advantage. You know, when they jumped in the game for the first time. Because CGC's cases at first, this is an older case. Okay? They were kind of thin, you know, a little flimsy. If you put them on a shelf with a little lean to them, they started getting kind of like a little bend to them. I mean, this one doesn't have it, but you know, they'd get a little arc to them, which I wasn't, you know, too thrilled with. But still, everybody's favorite. Now, PGX, I actually, you know, back to CGC, their labels now are pretty decent too. You know, it's a very professional looking book when you get it back from CGC. Now, PGX, you know, when they jumped in the game, I actually liked their holders a little better to begin with. They were thicker, a little shorter, I think a little stronger. Their labels weren't bad. You know, I thought their labels were pretty decent. But they have, you know, a bad rap, of course, on overgrading books and missing restoration and everything else. But I still like them. I mean, I send books to them also. But like I say, most of my stuff, you know, goes to either CGC or CBCS because I live right in between them. I'm literally 20 minutes from CGC, maybe 30 minutes from CBCS. So I can submit my books by driving there. I don't have to mail them in and risk, you know, damage to them. Plus, I don't have to pay for shipping. So, you know, without the shipping cost in there, you could throw another book or two to get graded. So then you got the new kids on the block, CBCS. which my first submissions there I was real pleased with. You know, their cases were, you know, thin, but seemed pretty sturdy. They were a little more clear. Their labels were good, you know, looked professional. So, I mean, I was pretty happy with CBCS. Now, when it comes to their grading, I think they're right in the middle between CGC and PGX. I know a lot of people bash PGX, but let's talk about CGC's grading besides the consistency. You say PGX overgrades. Well, how many times has people sent books to CGC and have been, wow, man, I could have almost swore this would have been a higher grade. And it came back a much lower grade than what they thought. And I also heard that CGC starts their grading off at 9.8 when it should start at 10 and go down. How true that is, I don't know, but that was just a rumor I heard. And for me, sometimes it seems, you know, pretty credible, because I've sent books in that were just absolutely beautiful and came back a 9.6 or a 9.4, and I was like, wow, you know, how did that happen? So when you think about it, does PGX really overgrade? Or are they spot on? Or maybe slightly overgraded? Now, CBCS books seem to be right in the middle. So who's actually right when you really think about it? CGC, PGX, or CBCS? Well, if you take all that information and put it together, you would think that maybe CBCS was the most accurate in the grading. But who knows? Listen, they're all third-party, impartial grading companies. So who's actually wrong? I could look at a book, all right, let's say that I think it's a 9.4. You might think it's a 9.6. PGX might think it's a 9.2. CBC might think it's an 8.5, or CGC might think it's an 8.5. You know, CBCS might think it's a 9.0. So, I mean, who's actually right? It's somebody's opinion. So I figure if you buy a book already graded, that it's been graded a 9.8, you know, be happy with it. Why not? Okay, so that's the first part of my opinion on the three grading companies. And then we'll get into another part. How these three companies started evolving to stay up with the competition. I've already talked about their cases. Now let's talk about the labeling and the changes the three companies been through. Okay, of course, CBCS, okay, their label was pretty decent. I mean, I liked it, but then they changed it. They changed it to something like this, which honestly is god awful, right? I mean, you would think your 2-year-old did that with a crayon. I mean, look at that. Sorry, but I am not impressed with that label. You know, it makes me actually not want to buy a CBCS book. I think they've changed it again since that, which has been a little better. You know, still not that impressed with it. PGX came out with a new label also, which I thought, you know, they did a pretty good job. It definitely looks more professional than their older labels, which I didn't have a problem with their older labels at all. But to really make their label pop, I think if they would have made this grade box bigger, like CGC, and put their hologram which they have stuck on the back of the book, on the front right here. I think that would have looked totally professional. Maybe would have helped some of their sales out a little bit. But all in all, you know, their label's not too bad. And then we have CGC, who took notice of these new companies and these other companies. And I mean, they really stepped up their game huge. Their new cases are just awesome, unbelievable. Crystal clear, thicker, stronger. Their new labels are sharp. I mean, you know, when you're talking about a professional grading company, once again, with all the factors combined, CGC stands above them all, again. I guess that's what happens when, you know, you're the pioneer and leader in grading comic books. But that's my opinion. You can leave a comment, like, you know, share your thoughts, tell me what you think. And one more thing to add to this video is a little tip on also how to you know, store your CGC books if you don't have them on display, or your graded books, you know, to help protect the cases from getting scratched or damaged. But what I like to do is, let me show you a little example here, if I may. Right here, I have a CGC box, okay? And what I like to do here is, I will take a thin piece of cardboard and cut it to the size of the cases. And I slide them in between each book. Now when you store them like that, it helps them from not get scratched, you know, from the other books. Plus, they also slide in and out of the box, you know, nice and easy. They don't get you know, stuck on each other. They're not rubbing against each other, and they come out of the box nice and smooth. They're not scratching up against each other. But so, I mean, for you guys who have a bunch of graded comics, I don't have a ton, maybe 100, but yeah, I kind of tried the little cardboard in between the cases, and man, I tell you what, it makes a huge difference when you're pulling in and out, you know, books. When you're putting them back in, they're not rubbing against each other. They're not scraping up the protective plastic you have over them. You know, the little sleeve you have on them. So that was, I thought, was a little tip I'd share with you guys. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Thanks again for watching. Please hit the like button, subscribe, you know, and I'll do the same for you guys. See ya.